Hey garden friends, we are back in the garden house, and today I am going to be planting up some phlox. These are not the annual phlox, these are the perennials, and I got them from Longfield Gardens. This one is Swizzle Blue and Red Riding Hood, this real pretty red. So phlox do great in my garden. They come back every year and the deer love them, but if I keep the deer away, then I get lots of beautiful blooms, and they bloom for a long, long time. So I took the roots, the bare roots, out of the packaging, and I put them in some water to rehydrate them because I had them sitting just a little too long. I should have got to these sooner. When I bought them, they probably weren't dried out as much as they are now. Now that was the Red Riding Hood, I'm sure. Yes, and this is the Swizzle Blue, and I'll show you what they look like when you take them out of the packaging. And they're packed in this, I think it's peat moss, but I'm not sure, sphagnum moss. And then here are the massive roots. So basically I just kind of tease them apart, and then I would put them, these ones are really nice and moist. I will put them in the tray of water. I'm not going to put these in here because I don't want them to get confused. But I have another tray over here. These are some of those food trays, these aluminum food trays that you get when you're like going to a gathering or something and you don't want to have to worry about bringing your containers home. And these were on sale for like $1 for 2 of them. So it's a pretty good deal. But you can use anything you want to put them in. And I don't know, this is taking up a lot of space, so maybe I will use something a little smaller, but still big enough. And this is a mangled hanging pot bottom that hangs on the pot, and it provides a bottom for it. But it just has some debris in it from some things that were in it, watering trays. Let me go get some water because my hose is turned off. One moment. I went and rinsed it out because it was just a little over the top gross. So I've got that tray. I'm just going to put enough water in here to soak the roots a little bit, keep them moistened. So on the top of these, you'll see that there is some little growth coming out. So you want to have that be upwards pretty much. And just set those in there to soak. Now, some of these roots are kind of smallish, but they will grow. Just don't you worry none. And each year they just get a little bit bigger, and you can divide these. Let me see, that one's all connected to one. That one has, even though it's kind of just this little piece, there's growth right there. So I'm just getting these soaked. Now they're supposed to be, look, this is coming right off of that root, and that's how they grow. So I'm just making sure I'm not wadding them all together. And each one of these is 5 in a package. So let me see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So obviously probably one of these busted off the others, but it will still grow. So it's a bonus for me. And here is the Red Riding Hood ones. And this was, I had bought some bare root strawberries from a garden center, and they were all dried out. And I really need to take them back and get my money back. But I always know I risk it when I buy from the big box stores, those bare root things, because they aren't usually fresh. So you can end up with dried out packages, especially when you buy them a little bit later in the season. Now what I'm doing with the leftover of the stuff, the packaging, I just put it into my bin where I make my DIY potting soil, because it will just be great in that, and it doesn't go to waste. Or you can put it in your compost heap. So that works too. So there we go. We're soaking the roots in that. And then these ones soaked overnight that are down here on my table. So I will be planting those out in the garden today. So boy, that one's really a big mass. So I'm going to go scope out my garden and see where I want to put them. I often buy plants and I don't know where I want them. I just know I want them. So let me go find a spot for them. And be careful not to dig up something that I have planted. At this time of year, this is March 23rd. That is a big danger because you forget. And I seeded, boy, I got these big flies in here. Don't know why. I seeded a bunch of poppies and stuff, and I remember where I seeded them. I just have to be careful because they're not sprouting yet. So I could disturb them. I lost a bunch last year because I dug up, or I put a big pot in the area that I put them. And I don't want to do that again. So I'm trying to be mindful of that. So I'm going to go scout it out, and then I'll take you along as I plant them. Okay, here's the spot that I am going to plant the perennial phlox, at least 2 of them. Now this spot's kind of tricky. It gets a lot of shade sometimes during the season because of where the sun is in the sky. I have a lot of tall evergreens surrounding my house, and during certain seasons it doesn't get hardly any sun. So this rosemary does not look like it survived. I know I was pushing the limits with that. Something's coming up here. What is that? I'm not sure, so I'll just let it come up. This is a iris. So this perennial phlox, you can tell her gophers have been running through here. Anyways, the gophers have not bothered my phlox in the past. Feeling I'm hitting a tunnel. Let me dig down a little bit. Okay. Now I had mulched this area. This is alfalfa straw. And I had mulched it. Look at this. You see what that is? That is the wonderful fungi you want in your soil. A lot of people will add mycorrhizal fungi, but there's a new study out that suggests that that's not always the best thing to do because you're introducing a foreign fungi. And if you have good soil like this, I showed you it already had some, then you don't need to add a foreign fungi. The premise is that the foreign to your area actually interferes with the communication of the native fungi. Like I said, it's just a study, and it's just coming, they're just looking at it closely, so we will see what that comes out to be. Anyway, so here I'm just making a little spot. It says it's supposed to be 1 inch down. Now that's a couple inches, but the top part right here is 1 inch. Going to be 1 inch below. And you saw the growth along the roots. That's just how they grow. And when I'm done with this, I'm going to put a post here. That will remind me when I get going, as I do, planting things and I forget that I planted something in here, it will remind me. So here's my soaker hose, which I need to, well, I don't think so. I guess I could leave it there. And then I will mulch this area. I'm just digging this in. I'm going to leave my rosemary, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, until I know for sure it's not going to revive. I have, see the root right here is green, so it may come back. I'll cut it back and give it a chance to recover. So I'm just going to put a second one here. And these will spread, and I can then divide these. They'll multiply. So at first, because I want a good showing of flowers, I'll plant 2, but I could have spaced them much further apart, and then I wouldn't have had to divide them out as early, but I wanted a good show. Plus, I'm running out of room in the garden to put things. So that, my friends, is how you plant perennial phlox. It's very easy. You know, you remember I had soaked them, and then I planted them. Now I got to find a spot for these other 4 plants, and that's going to be a test because I've got a lot of things going on in my little tiny garden. All right. And that, my friends, as I said, is how you plant perennial phlox. I also have annual phlox that I've got seedlings coming up of, and we'll get to that later in the season. But I'm going to take you for a little walk for just a few things going on right now that are really pretty in the garden. So we'll take you to the first little thing blooming for me. Yes, there we go. Down there, can you see those pretty little primroses? Aren't they the cutest little thing? Such a nice little bright spot in an otherwise very bare, as you can see, garden. And then, let me see if I can tilt you down just a little bit more. Here in the pathway, I've got something come up. I have no idea what they are. They've gotten trampled because it is the pathway. I did not plant them there. So that means the gophers did. So as they've been tunneling through, they've been moving bulbs. and I don't remember what those are. So I'm going to have to wait till they bloom, and then I will know. Let's see. Let me turn you just a bit. You can see my shadow there. And there, my tulips are coming up in my galvanized tub. I don't want the tub there. It's just where it got stuck. I can't move it by myself, and I need to grab my hubby to come help me to remove it and place it somewhere else. I know there's kind of a lot of shadows here, so sorry about that. Let me tilt you up a little. Now this is just a end of March view of the secret cottage garden. This is the messy, messy time of year as things start to sprout and fill in. You'll notice I put a bench over there in that corner, which I did not have last year. So that's going to be fun. Behind it, in the ground, I planted a bunch of poppies. I'm hoping they come up, the ones that get very tall. That bamboo got pulled out from behind there, and it needs to be rehomed. And then over there, where my moss heart is down below, this arbor here. And I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that arbor, if I'm going to leave it or if I'm going to go ahead and make a pathway there to the back of the studio. All in good time. So that's, like I said, just an overall view. Let me put you down a little bit more so that you can see down here. Down here is where we just planted the phlox. Right there. Sorry for keep banging. The hummingbirds are here visiting the feeders already. I'm stuck in a rose bush with my hair, doggone it. Not rose bush, a climbing rose. But down there is that Bill Wallace hardy geranium. And I found a seedling. It is supposed to reseed easily, and I'm okay with that. And I will dig up the seedlings and put elsewhere. But it had the prettiest little dainty flowers. Right here is where my lime Nicotiana was, and I'm hoping it reseeded. I haven't seen anything yet, but it may be one that comes up a little bit later. I do have some purple ones started in the greenhouse. And there's the wheelbarrow where I've been filling a raised bed to the other side of my studio. And that, I think, is where I'm going to put my tomatoes this year. Now I'm going to go over and we're going to show you where we're going to put the new everlasting cutting garden. I know it's kind of shadowed. Maybe I can brighten it up in my software, but over here is where I am putting the cutting garden. You can see I have an arbor started right here, and cutting rows that I will, not a cutting rose, I'm sorry. The chickens are distracting me. A climbing rose that will climb up over it. And then I'm cleaning up all this area, this raised bed. I don't know if I'm going to move it to the other veggie garden or if we use it in the cutting garden. I have a lot of options, so it's just getting started. I am starting statice and yarrow and all different kinds of flowers that dry well. Gomphrena, baby's breath. So that's what I'm planning on putting in this garden. And what else? Celicea, I think, is the other one. But it should be fun. A fun project this summer. And there you have it, my friends. A little tour of the craziness in the garden. And I'm sure everyone else is just getting started too. Cleanup is going good. We got a little bit of a picket fence up today. I'm going to plant my clematis. I've got these little starts here. I'm going to plant them by the front fence, and I have some climbing roses to put along that fence, so it just gussies it up. And I've wanted to have this fence forever and ever, and finally today I just bugged my husband so we could just get it done. And it's done, so now I can start planting up that area. And digging there, I've got to treat it for gophers. I have a spray that's supposed to help. I have been trapping, but it just doesn't seem to, I can't keep up. So the spray is supposed to deter them. So hopefully that will help in that avenue as well. So what have you gotten started this year for your garden? What's fresh and new? For me, it's the cutting garden and the fence and getting that going. And I want to do one along the side. It just provides, I don't know, some structure that I don't have there that I would like to have. And let me know in the comments below what you've got going. And welcome Silveroo. Silveroo is my olive egg rooster who's going to be rehomed pretty soon. So we won't have him around. I would keep him, mind you, but I have neighbors that don't care for his crowing very early in the morning. I get it. Alrighty, I will see you in the next video.